Greetings all. What would happen if the Emperor finally died? In the grim darkness of the far future where there is only war, the Emperor of mankind reigns as the immortal beacon of hope and power for humanity. Central to the sprawling Warhammer 40K saga, the Emperor's continued existence on the Golden Throne is the linchpin upon which the survival of the Imperium hinges. But what if the unthinkable happened? The Emperor finally died. What consequences would ripple across the galaxy, and how would the Imperium endure or collapse in his absence? This deep dive explores the complex implications of the Emperor's death, weaving through the web of lore surrounding the Golden Throne, the Webway Project, the Astronomican, the ever-present threat of chaos, and the monumental struggle between fate and doom. The Emperor, a being of immense psychic power and unparalleled strategic genius, has sat immobile on the Golden Throne for over 10,000 years. This ancient life support device simultaneously sustains his failing biological form and acts as a crucial psychic amplifier that powers the Astronomican, the psychic beacon guiding faster than light travel across the Imperium's vast star systems. The Astronomican acts as a lighthouse in the infinite darkness of the warp, enabling Imperial ships to navigate the otherwise treacherous currents of the Imperium. Without it, interstellar travel would become dangerously unreliable, severely fracturing humanity's ability to govern and defend itself across the myriad worlds under Imperial sovereignty. The Golden Throne itself is a marvel as much as it is a prison. Originally crafted as part of the ancient Webway Project, the Emperor's plan was to open a safe route through the Webway, a labyrinthine dimension outside the warp, allowing warpless travel free from the predation of demonic entities. However, the Horus Heresy, a galaxy-spanning civil war, forced the Emperor to funnel his psychic might into the Astronomican and the Golden Throne, leaving the Webway Project unfinished and the Imperium exposed to the horrors of warp travel. The failure of the Webway Project to materialize fully remains a haunting reminder of both lost ambition and the precariousness of the Imperium's survival. If the Emperor dies, the balance maintained by the Golden Throne would shatter. His psychic presence is the keystone preventing legions of demons from spilling out of the warp into real space. The constant psychic exertion of the Emperor's mind holds back tides of chaos, a realm ruled by malign entities who seek to devour or corrupt all life. Without this psychic bulwark, the gates of the warp would rend open, allowing the forces of chaos to surge forth unchecked, engulfing Imperial worlds with unimaginable horror. The impact of the Astronomican would be equally catastrophic. This beacon, fueled almost entirely by the Emperor's psychic essence, would fade into darkness. Imperial vessels would lose their navigational anchor into a perilous endeavor dominated by chance and madness. The already fragile cohesiveness of the Imperium, a bureaucracy sprawling over 1 million worlds, would begin to collapse. Supply lines would fail, reinforcements of embattled outposts would halt, and planetary governors, star-lords, and various factions would either vie for power or attempt to secede in the ensuing chaos. Moreover, the Imperium is not merely a collection of worlds governed by a single entity, but a complex machine maintained by innumerable interconnected institutions: the Adeptus Terra, the Inquisition, the Mechanicus, the Imperial Guard, and the Space Marine Legions, among others. The Emperor's death would ignite succession crises within these organizations and the wider Imperial hierarchy. Rival claimants might vie for control of the Imperium, each interpreting the Emperor's legacy differently. Some might seek to maintain his vision, while others may attempt to impose their own interpretation of humanity's salvation.
The Emperor protects, but what protects the Emperor?
And yet the lore suggests the death of the Emperor is not a simple end, but a potential prologue for further strife and transformation. Some factions might view the Emperor's demise as a divine martyrdom, rallying troops to continue the war in his name. Others might interpret it as a grim sign that the Imperium as known is destined to collapse, a possibility foreshadowed by the constant encroachment of chaos and the failures of the human psyche under endless conflict. The consequences of losing the Emperor also extend to the Space Marines and the Primarchs. These genetically enhanced super soldiers, created by the Emperor during the Great Crusade, are bound to a profound loyalty to him and his vision for a united mankind. Without the Emperor's guidance, both spiritual and telepathic, their cohesion might falter. Some chapters could fracture, splinter, or even fall to heresy. Others might become fiercely independent warlords, fomenting civil war within the already fragile Imperium. Consider the chronicler's warning that the Emperor's death could herald the ultimate defeat of humanity, a sentiment echoed in the grim necessity to resist chaos at all costs. The psychic link established through the Golden Throne is a double-edged sword. It both sustains the Emperor and acts as a linchpin for the Imperium's existence. its fracture would unravel not just one man's life, but a galaxy-spanning order. The presence of chaos merely compounds this nightmarish scenario. Chaos is an ever-present existential threat, the dark counterpart of psychic power, seeking to exploit any weaknesses to corrupt the material realm. If the Emperor's psychic bulwark falters, demonic incursion would spread like wildfire, subverting Imperial planets and even turning entire legions against themselves. The very fabric of reality in the Warhammer 40K verse is maintained by delicate psychic balances, and the Emperor is pivotal in sustaining that equilibrium. Long-term, the Imperium might enter a dark age even more profound than the current era. Without the Astronomican's guidance, isolated princely states and planetary dictatorships would emerge. Large swathes of human civilization would be lost to barbarism or chaos corruption, and the unrelenting tide of war would continue unabated, perhaps even to self-extinction. However, within the chronicles of Warhammer 40,000 lie hints of hope amid despair. Imperial lore sometimes hints at the possibility of the Emperor's eventual resurrection or restoration, perhaps through the sacrifice of loyal servants or the unleashing of ancient, long-forgotten technology locked away in the depths of the Webway. The unfinished Webway Project, if ever completed by determined individuals or factions like the Adeptus Mechanicus, could provide a warp-free route of travel and communication, reducing dependency on the Astronomican's psychic beacon. Such a development could transform the Imperium from a slow, crumbling empire into a more viable polity, capable of resisting both internal decay and external threats. Yet this hope remains tentative and distant. The Emperor's death would undoubtedly mark the most cataclysmic turning point in human history, a tipping point from which recovery would only come through immense suffering, sacrifice, and radical transformation. In the narratives told by Warhammer 40K, such sweeping changes often come at a harrowing cost, with the shadows of chaos and despair ever looming. In conclusion, the death of the Emperor presents a profound existential crisis for the Imperium of Man. Bound irreversibly to the Golden Throne, his life force is the psychic shield holding back demonic hordes of chaos, and the guiding light of the Astronomican essential to interstellar human civilization. The failure of the Webway Project, combined with the looming threat of chaos, paints a picture of an Imperium teetering on the brink of collapse in his absence. While fragments of hope remain in the belief of resurrection and technological salvation, the immediate aftermath would likely be a maelstrom of war, fragmentation, and darkness. The Emperor's death is thus not just the fall of a ruler, but the potential undoing of humanity's entire existence, a scenario as epic and tragic as the grimdark universe itself. As the chroniclers and prophets warn, the question does not simply linger if the Emperor dies, but rather, what lengths will the Imperium go to ensure he never truly does? This archive has now been fully decoded. Continue your journey into the librarian with the video displayed on screen. The vast wealth of the archives continues to reveal new knowledge of the dark history of the 40K verse. In the grim dark of the far future, there is only war.